Hello and welcome back, guys. This is Ibrahim Quraishi here, and today we are going to deep dive into the theory side of the vCenter server. vCenter server is a very important tool. It's a management tool for you who will be a VMware administrator. It's a go-to tool for you. There's a lot of stuff which we can do from vCenter. We'll go through and understand what it is. For those of you who are joining me for the first time, my name is Ibrahim Quraishi and my Twitter handle is @Ibrahim Quraishi, as you can see over here. I would suggest you to follow me on Twitter and let me know how you find these sessions. I'll be very happy to understand if you are following it or you need more help or in detail explanation. My blog is agileops.co.uk. Be sure to subscribe there because I'll post blogs which include step-by-step instructions. And lastly, I want to say, before we start, don't forget to subscribe and like my videos and hit the notification bell to get all the updates. So this is session 3, as we know. I'm sure you have already seen the session 1 and session 2, which was installation of ESX host. I have done 2 sessions on there. One is like a backstage, how I installed the ESX server on a Dell Optiplex. So you can see how you install it on a physical server, and it doesn't take a lot of money to get your lab running. That's another example which I wanted to put out to you guys, that I have used a commodity hardware Dell server to install it. I'll put the link in the description below for the sessions if you have missed. But today we are going to focus on vCenter. We'll dive into a lot of topics which we have here. I'm sure we can easily take a couple of sessions with vCenter because it's a huge topic. It's a primary tool which you will be using. There's a lot of terminology which you will be hearing from me. Don't get scared, you will get used to it. This is the purpose of the session, that you'll get used to the terminology, like, you know, high availability, DRS. What is a vCenter server? Now, there have been some comments from some of the people that watching my videos, that they got confused. Why do you need vCenter? Like, where do I install the vCenter? So of course, in the last session we installed the first ESX host on the environment, and as you can see in my one of the session, I did the deployment on my physical server, which was Dell Optiplex desktop. Really, on that particular server I installed my first vCenter. And if you are on a green field, if you are on a brand new environment which you are setting up, or your home environment, you will install your first ESX host. Make sure it has good memory, like around 32 gig, and you install your first vCenter on there. And then basically this vCenter is going to be your primary vCenter. You will add the host which you are using to install the vCenter back into the vCenter. We'll see how it goes anyway. So let's go through the section here. vCenter server is the central management tool for administration and management of your virtual estate. You can manage hundreds of ESX hosts and thousands of vCenter virtual machines with the vCenter. It allows you to manage your virtual estate more efficiently. Terminologies for you guys, and I get it. Obviously, if you're beginners, the whole purpose of this course is going to take you through from your to learn these terminology and get familiarize you with these new terminology, and you become obviously comfortable with these words, because obviously these are things which are new. It's a brand new technology for you, and we'll go through step by step in this journey. Now the next slide I have is from VMware Bloggers Early Access Program. So I was lucky enough to be selected on the Bloggers program, as I am a vExpert 2020. So shout outs here is Corey Romero, vExpert Advocacy Manager, and Amanda Leon, sorry if I didn't pronounce it right. That's a technology PR specialist. They gave me access to use the next slide. So the vCenter server scalability enhancement. So whenever we look at the newer version of vCenter, we try to compare it with the existing version. Now there are two versions out there which have the same end of life date, amazingly, which is vSphere 6.5 and vSphere 6.7. So my previous VMware tutorial for beginners was all based on vSphere 6.7, but it is having the same end of life as vSphere 6.5. So this is why everyone who is on 6.5 or 6.7 will have to at some point move to vSphere 7. So bear in mind that. So with the vCenter server, there is host per vCenter server, how many you can add. So in the previous version it was 2000. In this vCenter server it is 2500. So again, if you are unable to understand, if you miss the session, you'll understand what is the ESX host. ESX host is the hypervisor. Please check out the session 1 and 2 which I have posted on what is virtualization and how to install ESX host. Then you'll get a better idea. So that is the hypervisor which we'll be using in our sessions here. So, and then going forward, powered on VMs per vCenter server 25,000. Now that has gone up to 30,000. Linked mode, vCenter server has linked mode which was 15 per SSO domain, with host around 5,000 and powered on VM 50,000. Now this has massively jumped up. The link mode can be 15,000 of course with SSO domains, 15 per SSO domain, sorry. Host 15,000 host when compared to 5,000. That's a massive jump, 10,000 there. Powered on virtual machine, you can have 150,000 powered on virtual machine in that setup. That's amazing, right? So you can see how big you can spun out, right? So vCenter server latency, this is basically to communicate with your ESX host, vMotion and stuff like that. So over here, less latency is good. Does it make sense? Yeah. So before it is 50, the more the latency, it's better, because then you can have the time to live longer there. So that means you are able to cope up with even a bad network. Does it make sense? So before we have the server to server vCenter latency as 100 milliseconds. Now it's 150 milliseconds. vCenter to ESX host is still 150 milliseconds, as you can see, and vCenter to vCenter is 100 milliseconds. So don't get too carried away with these. These are more technical terms. Let's focus on these. So obviously you got the idea. So let's move on. Before we start looking into upgrading the vCenter server or deploying a new vCenter server in your environment, if you are learning, I guess obviously you'll be installing the new hypervisor, which is vSphere 7 and vCenter server. If you already have a setup in your environment, and if you're basically already having a virtual environment running, you need to be very mindful of compatibility issues. So vSphere upgrade path is the thing you need to check. I will post the link in the description or the references in this video. So source vCenter, if it is 5.5, if you are still running it, I'm saying some of the guys are running it, which is shocking. And if you're running 6.0 and you want to go to vSphere 7, it is not supported. Bad news, guys. So you need to upgrade this to 6.5 or 6.6 at least. Only then you can jump to vSphere 7. So that is why there's no update path. Simple as that. There's no upgrade path from 5.5 and 6.0 to vCenter 7. Okay, so interim you need to jump to 6.5, and then from 6.5 you can directly go here, or you can jump to 6.7. As I said, it wouldn't make much difference anyway if you jump to 6.5 or 6.7, because the end of life eventually for both of these products is the same date. So you're not going to gain advantage, but I would suggest, if you're upgrade it to 6.7. Why not, right? And always consult the release notes prior to patching or upgrading. Another important thing we need to check is the compatibility matrix. Now most of the people forget this and they get into a lot of trouble. Now I have done a well, this is the reference here, but I have done a quick metrics comparison so that you understand the difference. Now there are two things which I have done here, and again one of them backs me up with the previous slide. So vCenter server 7 is the product I'm comparing against. The vSphere hypervisor, now as I said, as we saw in the previous slide, it does not support 5.5 and 6. So I have added 6, 6.5, 6.7 and 6.7 update 3, and it says it supports everything above 6.5, 6.7 and 6.7 update 3, but it does not support the version 6, and that basically shows here. So tick tick tick, and then over here you can see 7 update 3, 6.7 update 1 and 6.5 update 3, but there isn't any 6.0 there. Now another comparison, if you are having VROps monitoring tool, so the VROps monitoring tool is also bad news, guys. The older versions are not supported anymore, so you need to jump to 8.1. so only the one which is coming up here is 8.1. so 8.0.1 is not supported, 8.0, 7.5, and of course not 7.0. so these are the things you need to be careful before you actually jump into, getting excited and jumping into upgrades is a good idea, but do your homework. Make sure you check, make sure you prepare, make sure you plan, make sure you read the release notes. It is very important to become more aware. More knowledge is better when you're doing these things, and of course to get it right in the first go. Okay, so let's move on with the next topic. So let's get into the vCenter installation. We have something called, with the vCenter we have something called Platform Services Controller. Now this is a very important tool. It is like a service which vCenter runs. Now if I remember correctly, PSC, it's also excuse me, it's also called PSC, Platform Services Controller, or PSC. It was introduced in vCenter 6.0, and during that time they gave an option to have the PSC within the same vCenter server. So vCenter server is like a server which you are installing, and we used to have Windows based vCenter server, which is basically install your Windows server and then install the piece of software as you normally do, which was the vCenter server. So you could have the PSC installed on a separate Windows box and vCenter on a separate Windows box. So we could have that setup, which would be called, let me draw it out. Let's have a pen. So you have a server, vCenter server with PSC, and then you can have a vCenter server, VC server, or you can have a vCenter server with PSC running within it, PSC. Okay, so this setup, pointer, so basically what I want to say is this setup is called embedded PSC, and this is called external. Of course, as you can see, the PSC is external. Okay, so the platform services controller is responsible for the following infrastructure function, and again this is only 3 of them which I have mentioned here. It's not limited to this. There's a lot of other functions which PSC performs. So vCenter single sign-on, which is for authentication, licensing, which is obviously like for licensing your vCenter server, certificate management, etc. Okay, but let's move on to the next topic and see what we have. Okay, some important points here. From vCenter 7, there is not going to be any Windows vCenter. So VMware has decided, they have perfected their Linux based appliance, which was originally SUSE Linux when it was version 6, but since 6.5 they have switched to their own proprietary Linux, which is called Photon OS. I got it right. Last time I got the spelling wrong. So Photon OS. So this is the thing, guys. So these are important notes. Make sure you understand this. So we do not have Windows based vCenter server, so that's a big no. If you do have Windows based vCenter server, which you could have with the existing versions like 6.5, 6.7, when you upgrade to vCenter 7, you will be migrating your Windows based vCenter to VCSA. VCSA basically is vCenter Server Appliance, VCSA. That's why it is called VCSA, vCenter Server Appliance. Okay, so now we are going to have only Linux based vCenter appliances, and the another thing is there's not going to be any external PSC, which is platform services controller, internal only. So if you do have a setup running where you have a PSC which is separate, PSC and vCenter here, when you migrate to the new version of vCenter 7, what will happen is this is going to be automatically migrated. So it's called PSC convergence, now happens automatically during the vCenter server upgrade. So when you're upgrading it from version 6 to here, your PSC will be automatically converged and it will come, PSC will come here. I'm not very good in typing, writing here like that. Okay, so this assuming this is 6.7, and again this is 6.7 PSC, or even if you have a 6.5, it doesn't matter. Obviously, as soon as you're upgrading it, it will basically converge it, and it will make it PSC again if you have here. Okay, so that makes sense. Comment on below and let me know if you have any questions with this topic, and I can discuss it further with you guys. Next, embedded deployment. As I said, just to, I want to make this information concrete in your head. That's why pictures are always pretty to remember. So vCenter server and embedded platform services controller. When you are doing the installation, you will see embedded platform services controller, and you need to select that. So vCenter with embedded controller, and this is a screenshot from a different setup which we have on stage 2, but it basically kind of gives you a message. You have your server and your PSC is running underneath it as well, yeah, which is good. This is why I have put it there, but it was from stage 2, which is why it was asking new SSO domain. Don't worry about that, but this is important stuff, that's why you need to remember that. Okay, moving on forward. So when we are installing, there are 4 options you will be given. So first option is obviously install, which is basically you are installing on a greenfield. That means you don't have any vCenter server at all in your environment, you are doing it fresh, yeah. So that's install. Upgrade is only available for, see, I have written that incorrectly here. Now that I have done my research, I know that 6.0 is not supported. That's a big no. Upgrade is not supported. The only versions which are supported is 6.5 and 6.7. Upgrading, always remember, the only upgrades are allowed is 6.5 to 6.7. Migration. So again, if you do have that Windows machine running vCenter server, for the guys out there, it's not going to be Windows server anymore. It will be migrated to vCSA, vCenter Server Appliance. So yeah, be sure to basically kiss your Windows server goodbye here, because it's going to be all VCSA from here on. And the last option when we are upgrading is the restore. If your vCenter is corrupted, that's what you will do. Okay, so I think obviously from the theory point of view, I think we have covered most of it, and I know the session has gone long because I was discussing a lot of other topics which are very important at the same time. Stay tuned for the next session, and we are going to go through the vCenter deep dive installation and configuration. We'll go through the prerequisite. We need to create a DNS, or you have to use the IP address. We will be using we'll be installing the vCenter server. We'll go to the stage 1 and go through the stage 2. We'll have a first look at our HTML client. We'll create a brand new data center. We'll create a brand new cluster. We'll add some ESX host to that vCenter. And then we can look into the administration side. I know a lot of people have asked me about how to configure backups really, and that's something which I want to cover. Again, we'll look at the administration page, how to log in, how to configure some basic settings, how we'll be upgrading VCSA. I'll obviously do a dedicated on how to upgrade it when we get a upgrade from vCenter, but we don't have it yet, so we won't be able to do it yet. But I'll take you through that, and I'll show you the option how to reboot it from the administration console as well. So stay tuned for that. And these are the references. As you can see, these are the compatibility checks which I have been showing you from the point of view of the interoperability matrix, which we saw, and these are the vCenter migration and details which we saw. Just want to remind you that I'll be posting the content on my blog, which is agileops.co.uk, which will have step-by-step instructions to go through for the vCenter server. So be sure to subscribe to my blog as well. Question of the day today is, what is PSC or Platform Services Controller used for? Comment on below and let me know. As I mentioned just now, my blog is agileops.co.uk. Check out the blog for vCenter step-by-step installation. My Twitter handle is @Ibrahim Quraishi. Follow me on Twitter and let me know how this session was, whether you liked it. If you have any questions, you can always send me a personal message by the option of DM on Twitter, which is direct message. So do that, and don't forget to subscribe, like this video, and hit the notification bell to get all the new updates. Enjoy watching and keep sharing.